What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you a budget update that a lot of you have been asking for, and that is for Fire Kings. So previously we were able to play Fire Kings with Snake Eyes, but now that Original Sinful Spores is banned, we've pretty much lost the bridge. So there's no real reason to be playing the Snake Eyes engine. That being said, what you can do is you can sub out that Snake Eyes engine that I've shown you in the previous build and you update it like this with pretty much a cheap and easy upgrade by utilizing the Dogmatika package and then opening up space for more hand traps or direct format specific board breakers such as Ultimate Slayer, Book of Eclipse and everything else in between. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. At the end of the video, I'll also show a very basic one-card combo of how the Dogmatika package synergizes with the Fire Kings and how you can get so much more from the back of it as well. So diving headfirst into the profile, we're going to start off with the Fire King monsters themselves, starting off with probably my favourite one being the Fire King High Avatar Kirin. So this allows you to dodge targeted effects because it is a quick effect to target one of your fire monsters, destroy it and then basically run out of the way. It also has the graveyard effect to revive, and of course it can destroy a fire monster in the hand as well, which gives you great more benefits. We're backing this up with 2 of the Sacred Fire King Garunix and the 1 High Avatar Garunix as well, and the reason we're playing this is we are going to be utilising Volcanics a little bit more in this version. We're then going to be playing triple Fire King Ponix. Now you can cut this down to 2 if you want to. It's really going to come down to what you have access to and how many of the Volcanixes you have. Now Volcanix did take a dip in price because of the ban list, as it now became less of a Fire King Snake Eyes Azamina hybrid and more so you can only really play it in Fire King. So you should be able to pick this up relatively cheap and easy, but if you are looking at this profile and going, whoa, I don't own 3 Volcanixes, what else can I sub it out for? Get as many as you possibly can and then you basically make sure you're maximising on the Ponix. You can shift it around a couple of times and cut the Ponix down to 2 if you want to, but honestly, because we don't have Original Sinful Spoils, you're going to want to be maxing out on this, as Ponix is your bridge from the Dogmatika package as well. So go for 3 and 3 where at all possible, but it's not the end of the world if you don't have 3 Volcanics. We're then going to be backing this up with 1 Avatar and 1 Barong. Of course, both of these are greatly useful in this deck. The Barong gives you the access to get to your currency in the next standby phase, which you'll see at the end of the profile with the combo, and then of course the Avatar is the Monster Negate. For the spells, we are going to be playing the double Sanctuary and 1 Island. It is entirely up to you whether you want to go up to a 3 and a 2 or you're happy with a 2 and a 1. Personally, 2 and a 1 works quite nicely in this particular build for me, as it does open up the door for a lot more hand traps and a couple of different one-offs. The one-offs that I like to play are the 1 Circle of the Fire King, the 1 Fire King Skyburn, and the 1 1-for-1, because obviously 1-for-1 is your bridge or an additional copy of Ponix. The Skyburn being a nice technical torrential tribute within a way, and then of course the Circle of the Fire Kings can also be quite helpful to help you dodge targeted effects and also revive you certain cards back into rotation. For the Dogmatika package, relatively short and simple. You're just going to be playing the 1 Maximus and the 1 Fleur-de-Lis. You don't need to play the Fleur-de-Lis, you can actually cut this out if you want to. It's just another nice option that at the end of the combo, you have a couple of different options. Just from the Dear Servant, you can work your way into ultimately going down a Fire King route, but you can also then add either a Winterlock to that board, or you can go down the route of being able to add to yourself a Fleur-de-Lis as a non-target negation on the board as well. It really is up to you where you want to go. You can cut this out, which will open up some space in the extra deck, and if you do, it brings it down to a 40 card deck. And even if you do and you still want to have a bit more space, you can start adding in direct hand traps for the format, stuff like Ghost Bell, Ghost Mourners. You can even look at whatever else you have access to as well. Speaking about the previous board breakers I mentioned, stuff like Book of Eclipses and everything. Then for the final card, of course, we are playing the triple Nadir Servant, backed up by the 1 Schism. So this is quite like the Fleur-de-Lis in a sense, but the Schism is your way to the Winterlock. So you kind of have a couple of different options throughout the play. When you activate Nadir Servant, when you're sending that 1 card from your extra deck, you have loads of different options that you can work your way towards. You can work your way towards a Winterlock, you can go for the Negate of the Fleur-de-Lis. You could go for both if you wanted to, if you've already hard opened up a Ponix as well. You have so many different options, it's crazy. And then for the next part of this is just pretty much loads and loads of hand traps. So because of the space now left by the Snake Eyes, you can max out on triple Ash Blossom, and then I'm just going to show you a range of what you can play around with. So obviously you've got double Ogre, double Veiler, triple Droll, and triple Imperm. Now these could be any hand traps you have available to you. If you're going to an environment where you know everyone's playing Malices, you could very easily main deck Artifact Lancia. If you're going to a place where everyone is going to be playing the Ryzeals, you can very easily main deck your Book of Eclipse. You've got so many different options. This is all your flex spot that you can do whichever you want with and make it adaptive to your environment. The last two cards we are playing is the one called by the Grave to help protect you from hand traps, and of course the one Pot of Prosperity. If you do have access to Crossout Designator, you could very easily play that as well because you are playing so many hand traps. And then what I would say you to do to focus on is the cards that will hurt you the most, being stuff like Imperms, Ashes and Drolls. You'll be able to protect a little bit more consistently from them. So that's it for the entire main deck. Now moving on to the extra deck. So the extra deck, again, quite like the main deck, has a bit of space for flexibility depending on what your personal preferences are. So for me, my personal preference is I still like to play the one Grunix Eternity and I still like to play the one Dingirsu. You don't have to play these. One card that I would highly advise you trying to get hold of, but it is a little bit more expensive until it gets a third reprint, is the number 90 Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord. Now the reason this is so important is this will set you up with a monster negate before you start to continue to build your board. Keep in mind you need to access your extra deck first before you activate Nadir Servant, but the additional benefit for that one is if you can get to your Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord early doors, what that's going to give you the capabilities for is it will let you get hold of this, and then you add on to that a Winterlock. You can then also add on a Fleur-de-Lis, you can add a draw, you can add a Ponix for a follow-up of the next turn. Like, your possibilities are near enough endless when you have that, and this will just allow you to protect yourself from the Nibiru and an Ash Blossom on the Nadir Servant. Now, I'm not actually playing this in this version as I wanted to try and keep the cost down where at all possible, but this is one that I highly advise you all go and get if you can, or just ask Santa for it on your Christmas list. Another one to also consider would be the Silhouette Rabbit, but this is just an alternative option if you wanted to main deck the statue Azarun, just to give you another form of interruption during your end phase, but again, it's a completely optional card, you don't have to play it. This would be the one that I would prioritise. Moving on to the link, so pretty standard on this one. You got your Relinquish Anima. You can go for a Salamangreat Almirage if you want to. IP into SP, pretty standard lineup really. And then you've got your Hita the Fire Charmer into the Promethean Princess and the Amber Whale. And then the remainder of the cards are all cards from your extra deck that you will send off of the back of the Nadir Servant, but then it also comes into play when you open up your side deck, being Ultimate Slayer. This is the one big benefit about this deck is it could technically, if it wanted to, main deck something like Super Poly, but we're going to be going up with the idea of Ultimate Slayer in the side deck because this is going to be one of the format's best cards to counter the meta, as it can deal really, really well with Malice cards by sending them to the graveyard. It can deal with Ryziel boards by sending the spinning the XYZs and the Link monsters back to the extra deck, and then on top of that, all of the cards that you are going to be sending will give an additional effect. Whether it be negate a card on the board, whether it be draw a card, put a card back, whether it be send a card from your deck and send one from the field, you've got so many different options, it's crazy. So the cards you're going to want to send, you'll be sending your Adjugator for the XYZ matchups. You've got the ability to send Elder Entity Unts or of course the Garura off of the back of the fusion matchups. But more so you've got your Notice as your aggressor, and then your Garura is actually part of the combo, which gives you a little bit more resource. You can then also consider the last one as well. Well, technically you can send these off in the Nadir Servant, but you'll be sending an App Cologne, and you can also send a Titaniclad. So the idea is Titaniclad is your route into the Fleur-de-Lis, and your App Cologne is the route into the Schism. So the way that the Schism works is, of course, that you send from the extra deck with the Nadir Servant something like Garura, which will give you the guaranteed draw so that the Nadir Servant remains a one-card combo. You then work your way into Maximus. Maximus will banish the Garura from the graveyard, which you'll see in the combo at the end of the video. And then when you use Maximus's effect, you send an App Clone from the extra deck and then one other Dark Monster, whether that be Titaniclad or a Shurag, and that will then allow you to grab the Schism. That will then allow you to discard the card that you drew off of Garura, set the Schism, and then during your opponent's turn, flip the Schism to banish your App Cologne and then any of the darks that you sent to the graveyard in order to make yourself a Winder. And that's how you're able to add a Winterlock to your board during your opponent's turn. And if they're playing darks, even more benefit because you'll be able to send them from the field to the graveyard. Great success against Malice, especially if they're trying to special summon and absolutely swarm the board. So that's it for the entire extra deck and of course the main deck. I have mentioned some other cards that you could consider for your side deck, but adapt that to your environment. Again, like I've mentioned, you've got Book of Eclipses, you've got Ultimate Slayers, and then of course you do have stuff like Artifact Lancers and everything else in between, the D barriers, you name it. So these are the two cards that I highly advise you both, or I say both, that you go and get both of them. Obviously, Galaxy Photon Lord is a great addition to the extra deck, and Ultimate Slayer is great for the side deck, or if you want to go for a bit more of an OTK version, it can be great to help you break boards. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out and show you the very basic one card combo that's going to allow you to build this board utilising the Dogmatika package and everything else in between. So back in a second. So the one card combo all stems from Nadir Servant itself. Now, of course, it is very susceptible to an Ash Blossom, but that's where you still have your remaining 4 cards in your hand to help you attempt to build this board as you see fit. So if you do open up a route to Ponix, a route to Volcanics or anything like that, you add an extra deck monster to your board as well. So very basic and very simply, you're going to activate Nadir's Servant, you're going to want to send a Winged Beast, being the Garura, and this is going to allow you to draw a random card, so you've already replaced the card that you've activated in the form of Nadir's Servant, and you then get to search out your Maximus, so you've gone +1. Now, to maintain that this is a direct 1-card combo, I'm going to keep the draw here. The rest of the hand can, you know, stay to one side. So you'll special summon down the Maximus by banishing the Garura, and then you're going to use Maximus's effect to send 2 from your extra deck and 2 from your opponent's. Now, your options that you can send, or the one that you're going to want to send to get your Ponix, is going to have to be the Shurag, but if you've already hard opened up the Ponix or drew into it, you can very easily send the Titaniclad. The other one that backs this up is either you want to go for the Winderlock, so you send the App Cologne, or you want to go for the non-target negation off of the back of the Fleur Delis, so you send the Titaniclad instead. So you've got loads of different options. I'm going to show you the Winderlock just so you see how it works for those of you that are unfamiliar with it. So you're going to send both of these to the graveyard. Then what you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to go Chain It 1, Chain It 2, Chain Block whichever one you feel is most important. That was going to happen is your Shurag will allow you to add a level 1 Winged Beast from the deck to the hand, or technically a tri-type. So the one you're going to want to go for is, of course, your Ponix. Now, keep in mind, if you had a hard opened up an Volcanics, this can be your normal summon instead. You have so many different options that add to this board, and prior or after Nadir's Servant, it's crazy. App Clone will then grab you the Schism, and then you're going to discard the draw that you got off of Garura. Again, the only reason I'm showing that exact discard is that it maintains as a 1-card combo, not a 1.5-card combo or anything else in between. So now what you're going to do here is you can now normal summon Ponix, and you're pretty much just going to do the standard play off of the back of Ponix. So what I mean by that is you'll be able to grab yourself a Sanctuary. You'll be able to activate the Sanctuary, which will, of course, place you the Fire King Island. You can use Fire King Island to destroy Ponix, which will then give you access to something like your Garunix. You'll then be able to use Garunix effect in hand to summon itself down, destroying a Fire King in the deck, which will be Barong. So you can, of course, go for an Volcanics, which will get you another level 8 to the board. The issue with that is because we've already used Nadir, you won't be able to go into your extra deck. So that's where it flips it on this other side. And what I mean by that is, if you've already opened up Ponix, or you've already opened up Volcanics, you add the Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord to this end board here, so that when you activate Nadir's Servant, you protect your Maximus play, and you end up with a draw, a Fleur Delis, and a Winderlock as well. So that's your different options you've got. So off of Garunix, you're going to want to destroy the Barong, because this is going to guarantee that during the standby phase of the next turn, you'll be able to grab yourself a Kirin, which is going to be massively helpful. That being said, you're going to set the Schism and you're going to pass your turn. Now what's going to happen is during the standby phase is you're going to resolve the Ponix to add this back to your hand. And then of course you'll be able to trigger the Barong, which will give you guaranteed direct access to your Kirin. So now when it gets you into a position where you're happy to do it, you can flip the Schism, and Schism will banish 2 darks from the grave, one being the App Clone, one being the Shurag that you sent previously off the back of Maximus, and this will then allow you to summon Winder. Now it is very, very important here that when you summon down the Winder, you probably want to do it after the Kirin. And the reason I say that is if we activate the Kirin to destroy the Garunix, we won't be able to float the Garunix back later on in the turn. The best benefit you could get is you could go for the Kirin, destroying the Ponix in the hand, because then you're just going to loop that resource back anyway. And the benefit of doing something like that is you still get an additional boss monster to the board. That is your one special summon. It would come back to your turn. You'd draw 1 card for turn. You would resolve the Ponix that you destroyed in the previous turn to add it back to the hand. And then you're good to continue to cook. It's at this point, if you really want to, you can start linking off your monsters so that you're no longer under the Winderlock, and then build from there. But honestly, when you've got Maximus here, you can go Maximus effect again, and then Maximus can start getting a little bit more aggressive by sending something like an Elder Entity Ints to pop a card, and of course an Adjugator to negate a card. So you've negated a card, you've popped a card. Remember, Winder can't attack directly, but even then, you've got a 24 there, you've got a 27 there, and a 15 there. And if you really need to, you can normal summon the Ponix and poke, or of course you can use your first special summon of the turn, activate Fire King Island, destroy the Ponix, grab your Garunix, go from there. So you've got loads of different options, or even an Volcanics, to be honest. You kind of upgrade your board. Loads of different options that I wanted to show off to you, but I wanted to show you the base bare minimum. And then, like I said, this can evolve into like 1-card combos, 2-card combos, 3-card combos. It has so much versatility, and that's what makes it so good. And it kind of gives you a little bit of a upgraded factor, especially if you were building the Snake Eyes deck, or did build the Snake Eyes deck on a tidy budget, and now you're like, okay, well, what am I going to do? Am I supposed to chuck it in the bin? Nope. What we do is we adapt, we overcome, and we improve our decks to make a deck like this, where the deck can still perform massively well, and it gives you loads of flexibility and creativity on top of it, as well. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.